This is Smarter Marketing with The Point Group. So with one of our clients, inner health, a sensitive category in addiction and recovery, rehabilitation, we have come across a company called LegitScript, and they are, trying to have us submit a bunch of information to prove that we're a legitimate company, we are a legitimate rehabilitation center, and it has been tough, it has been frustrating. And so, can you give us any background on that? What is LegitScript? How have you worked with them before, and what are your thoughts on them?
Well, they started about, I want to say 2007, 2008. So they've been around for at least a decade now.
Okay.
And, I believe when they started out, it was probably, I'm sure they didn't think that they would grow to be as big as they are now, because they started out as a small little outfit of some highly motivated people who wanted to kind of police the internet.
Gotcha.
That was their, initial, approach into getting into this area, to this arena of basically web security, right? Policing and trying to keep some of the players honest. In the process, it has really, really snowballed, successfully for them. But now here we at a situation where, in order to run any ads that may even appear slightly pharmaceutical, so they're not like, if you have of course a pharmacy, you have nothing but those type of keywords, right?
Right.
A lot of companies were passing themselves off as a pharmacy, but they weren't. They were pill warehouses and all the different various nicknames you can go along the lines of that. So this is how they came and played to make a niche opportunity for themselves to kind of screen companies and have them qualify. And there is a certain qualifying criteria, because if you had your own business, let's say as a doctor, and say you worked out of an attachment to your home, which a lot of doctors do. Unless you were affiliated with a greater institution, you couldn't even get certified. If you can't get certified, that means you're very limited to what you can advertise. So where we're at in the vetting process is, which is what I was mentioning earlier, looking at what you presented, I couldn't even take all of that on. Like, give an example. If I create an ad similar to something using some of the wording and context that you used, it would immediately wouldn't even let me save it.
Like addiction.
Right.
Or rehab.
It totally stopped me. it would let me know, because it knows already. So in building out that campaign, or building out that ad for that campaign, I had to use words that basically, ultimately, once we do get approval, I'm going to have to go back and swap out the, basically a placeholder. But anyway, to get back to the gist of your question is, they started about 10 years ago. They started as a small outfit of just some highly motivated people who wanted to basically clean up the internet, and that was their basic premise.
Do you have an idea of what words you'll be able to use once you get approved?
I don't think there'll be any limitation, as long as it's used in the right context.
Gotcha.
The
thing with me on the Facebook end, and I actually spoke with someone from Facebook just to keep it guaranteed, because, Facebook is they've rejected my ads all the time. I've worked for doctors. We've, here at the Point Group, have plenty of healthcare patients and clients, and I just knew I wasn't even going to try writing words addiction, you know what I mean, like just negative words in that category. So I made all of my ads positive, and I wrote about the recovery process, and I never used specific words like drug, addiction, and rehabilitation. I instead opted for recovery. I used recovery, I think, in every ad. All my ads got approved. the marketing expert I work with at Facebook told me keep them running, like don't worry about getting paused, and it's been going very smoothly.
Now you can, like I said, there are doctors who are working, out of their homes. They have to be competitive too. So you can find a creative way to get your ads up. But when you're being in such a
indirect,
as a big business, if you're not using the right keywords, you're not going to win. You're not going to compete,
and you're not advertising yourself correctly.
I worked once with a client that all they did was everything you can imagine up to needing a prescription. So they were over-the-counter things, some vitamins, multiple, supplements, all kinds of things, right? But the names alone will get rejected because maybe the ingredients in certain things were historically prominently known to have certain other ingredients that, it really goes deep into it.
Wow.
So if you say a thing and if that particular thing has a history of having certain ingredients in it, even though you do not mention those keywords,
right,
it will still get rejected.
Wow.
So I've been in an environment where you have to get around that because they weren't going to be paying the fee
right
to get certified. They weren't going to do it. So, they pretty much said, hey, this is what we're paying you for. Get around it.
Is it expensive to get certified?
It's very expensive, and the process is...
we've already been waiting 2 weeks, and we're still...
It's pretty profound because it's very extensive, and the information that they want from the company is pretty extensive and personal. So, many companies will be reluctant. Maybe the companies can be, ready to go, but maybe some of the employees may be reluctant.
Right.
Because there are security issues there.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with a company that you've never heard of before.
So, last question for this podcast regarding LegitScript. Once you cross that hurdle, do you think that because you will be just one of way fewer people to have crossed that hurdle than before, that your costs and conversion costs, cost per click, is all that just going to go down so much?
I think one is going to go down, and we're going to, especially for each of the companies who've been approved, they should own their market unless they happen to be in the market with a lot of competitors, because this process is so extensive, especially initially. It should be very few who are competing with that certification, and because there are not as many competing, and we're able to use all these really good juicy keywords that really go to the heart of the definition of the particular prescription or addiction or in this case, or substance, whether it be alcoholism or whatever have you, because we can really be definitive in that. When people are searching, if you did something you didn't have the certification, like you said, you have to be really crafty. But now I'm second guessing whether you're actually able in my search. When I see you, are you saying you can help me with this addiction, or I'm not sure. Whereas I'm advertising the very thing you want to know specifically, right?
Right.
And you're like, okay, I'm clicking here. Because that was what I was asking for. I'm asking about alcoholism.
Right.
I'm asking about heroin addiction. Where the competitors, they may just say other words that can kind of...
Go around it.
Right.
Indirect.
Yeah. Well...
I don't know if that's what I want.
Right. I don't want to do this anyway. I don't want to...
It doesn't address the problem head on to the consumer.
Yeah. So from an opportunity cost, people don't want to go down a seemingly possible rabbit hole. They want to get right to it. So that's going to give us the benefit of driving the cost down, because there are not many people who are going to be doing that. And from a user experience perspective, being able to create a better environment for them to search drives costs down anyway, naturally.
And just to close on this, it's obvious, if for the listeners that don't know, LegitScript does have a partnership with Google, so that's why all this has happened.
They have a partnership as well with
Amazon, Facebook,
and Facebook.
all the
they
big.
do not
ones.
have a partnership with Bing, so that's something to consider.
Well, if people used Bing, then that would be cool, but
Right, it would be. People use it, but it's a totally different niche demo for that. That's a whole other podcast.
A Binger. Yeah, that'll be a different podcast.